Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Jessie Tylre Williams. She is an entrepreneur, author, advocate with 17 years sobriety, and we'll discuss with her the raw truth about addiction, trauma, and rising again. We'll explore with her what comes after survival, why we are so uncomfortable with the messy middle of someone's story, and whether survival itself comes with a responsibility to others. Welcome to the show, Jessie.
Thank you so much for having me here today. It's an absolute pleasure.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Jesse. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm
Yeah.
sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about hitting rock bottom and then rising from there and much more. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, your story, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Jessie Tylre Williams, and I've been doing music for many, many years. As long as I can remember, I've been writing, and I used it as my personal therapist to give me the space to be able to express myself in ways that I didn't know how to express myself any other way. It was my my resource that I had at the time from a very young age. I've traveled extensively. I've moved probably 1,000 times in my life. Um, and that brought me here today to writing my book and trying to reach out to the masses of people on what I call a global pandemic on addiction, and how that is, it's something that we have to address, and not in a silent let's medicate them more way, but in a way that gets to the root of the problem. Instead of blaming addiction as the problem, we have to remember it's actually the solution to the problems that people are facing. The problem lies within.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what is the problem? Means people make their choices, they go that line. Can someone else give the solution, or is it that they themselves have to find the solutions? As you yourself say, nobody else is coming to help you. Help us understand with examples from your own story how you rebuilt your life to the place that you are at the moment.
Right. And I mean, I rebuilt many times in my life, from domestic violence situations to uh, drug addiction, to being homeless, to being incarcerated, all these different avenues. And again, like you said, choices that I made in my life. A lot of times, the choices you have are very minimal because of the situation or circumstances that you're faced with. But yeah, nobody's coming to save you. You may have people in your life that can guide you and that can show you different ways to deal with your issues. But at the end of the day, you have to make those choices. You have to decide that today I'm clean. This minute, this hour, this day, I am clean or sober, or however you want to put it. But at the end of the day, the only one that you have to face is yourself. And so you need to live with those decisions, which is very difficult to do sometimes, because sometimes if you don't address the root of the problem, the addiction will always be the solution.
Absolutely. What motivated you to, solve your problems and rise again? What was your is a motivation required, or life itself is motivation enough?
No, I don't think life itself is motivation enough, because I think a lot of people that are in addiction, they just want the pain to stop so badly that they'll do anything. And for me, I didn't want to be alive. I did not want to be alive, but I wanted more than anything. I wanted to live. And if the listeners right now can understand that concept, and I'm sure that anyone who's listening right now that is caught up in that addiction, they're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, a lot of us don't want to die, but for us, it's the only way to stop the pain. It's the only way. And so we don't feel there's any other options because we've tried. And by the time you get to that basement of rock bottom, of what I call it, you're already so engulfed in the addiction itself that the only thing that you think in your mind that's going to solve that is death itself.
Right, right, Jesse. You talk about, the difficult part, what comes after you survive. And generally, that is the part, of recovery and survival that uh, nobody talks about. Help us understand what is it that you want to say the world about this part, what comes after you survive.
Well, I can attest to this. And I mean, I probably quit 1,000 times. You know, the quitting part is easy. It's maintaining that level of sobriety. It's staying away from that. But to maintain that and to really truly survive, it's a lifelong journey. And every day when you get up, you have to make choices. And you get to a point once you overcome the withdrawals and the wishing you were dead and all of those things. It's the maintenance of that following. And it's your environment. Your environment is crucial to whether or not you're going to be successful in your sobriety. You may be able to go to a party that whatever your poison is, and you may be able to socialize, maybe 1 or 2 times, maybe 4 or 5 times. But eventually, if you're immersed in that environment long enough, you become a product of your environment, whether it's good or bad. Either way, you're bound to become that. You ever notice when you see 2 people that are really good friends and they start finishing each other's sentences, or they start becoming really alike in many ways, BFFs. They start talking the same. They start doing movements the same. And they don't do it on purpose. It just becomes that way because they're around each other so much that they become a product of each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. You
The
see,
real.
right, absolutely, Jesse. So sometimes when you are in 20s, at that young age, if you make a mistake, you can rise again, you can spend some years rebuilding your life. But how do you get that, instinct when you are 50 years young, and then trying to rebuild everything from scratch? Who is that for? Is it for only Jesse, Tylre Williams, or is it for also lesser mortals?
You know what? You're right. I'm not 20 anymore. And at 20, I rebuilt my life several times, at 30, at 40. And then again at 50, at almost 50 years old. And is it easy? Absolutely not. And especially the fact that I rebuilt everything here in Mexico with a little 3-year-old girl. And so I had an opportunity to come here to Mexico. And for me, it was a great opportunity. I wanted to rebuild something that was completely my own, on my own terms, the way I wanted to live my life once and for all, not with outside, chatter, people telling me what I should and shouldn't do. I've been, I was one of those people that whatever it took to make people happy. They used to call me Jessie, okay? And even still now, I'm Jessie every once in a while, but I say yes when I want to say yes. I love helping people and making people's lives easier by contributing to their life in some way. But if I'm doing this and they're not contributing to my life in a positive way and it becomes exhausting for me, I'm done, right? And so rebuilding is I think as human beings, we're constantly rebuilding and renewing and rejuvenating. And I'm a firm believer in it doesn't matter how old you are. And I mean, I'm living proof of that. And I bet you when I'm 70 years old, I'm going to try something totally different again. You know, I really firmly believe that, you know, I'm not going to be the same person tomorrow as I am today. And tomorrow, my views may change a little bit in certain things because of life circumstances or situations that I've been in, you know, and that goes back to how people, they'll see somebody on the street suffering from addiction and they'll right away, oh, it's because they're here because they want to be here. That's their own downfall, you know, because they've never been either subjected to addiction, involved in addiction, or had a close part of addiction. So they don't understand it. And so when people don't understand things, there's a level of fear that builds up of the unknown. So they become judgmental. I mean, and I think we're all the same that way. We tend to judge. I try not to judge at all. I got no room in the planet to judge anybody. But we do it every once in a while. It's human nature sometimes. You take a first glance, but then when you take a step back and you check yourself, and I think we're all guilty of that. And I think that we change our perspective as we enhance our experiences, as we have more experience in life. And so the rebuilding, I believe, is a constant thing. And for me, I've always been, everybody says no moss is going to grow under her feet, right? Because my purpose, my responsibility right now is to use my trauma, my experiences, no matter how bad they were, my addiction. I believe it's my responsibility, because I've been given the opportunity to still breathe on this planet. It's my responsibility to make sure that I do whatever I can to help change the lives of other people and show them that there is hope, and show them it doesn't matter how many years you've been an addict. It doesn't matter how many years you've been drunk out of your face. None of those things matter. What matters is what you do right here, right now. And my responsibility is to provide something to those that want it, so that they know that there is a way, there is hope. And that's why I designed I didn't just write the book. I designed it in a way so that people could read parts of my tragedies, my traumas, and then they could reflect with their own life at the end of that chapter and go, oh my God, this is my life, you know? And there's going to be so many people that can relate to that. Like, I'm not a one-off, but I'll tell you, I sure felt like I was, for a good part of my life, I felt like I was the only one that was dealing with a lot of these things that were happening to me. And I didn't know, right? Because God forbid you ever say anything about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jessie, you rebuilt your life at 20, 30, 40, closer to 50, you know, and you want to, in spite of everything, you want to do something for others, to be there for others, what was not available to you. But you still say that nobody is coming to save you. What was the moment in your life when you realized this part of truth? Why I ask this is, a lot of people say there are friends, there are relatives, there are people, there is community, there is society, there are support groups, there are so many groups that will help you. How do I calibrate both these parts? That nobody is going to save me, and still there are other places where I can see help. Like that same way, you are trying to provide help for a lot of people. Tell us with your story when you felt all along that nobody is going to save you. And tell
I
us
felt,
about how people can find some help wherever they can.
well, I felt that way most of my life, AJ. I felt my whole life that nobody was coming to save me. And so for me, I knew that, hey, you know what? There's all these resources out there. They didn't work for me. And they didn't work for me because I wasn't ready. You know, as well as I do, there's a lot of programs and a lot of societies out there that are, they don't really, although they have medical certificates and schooling and education, unless you've been immersed in addiction, you might be able to understand the physiology of it, the psychology of it. You may be able to come at it from a psychiatric point of view. You may be able to come at it from all these different directions, but you will never truly understand the addiction until you're in it. And so you can empathize, absolutely. You can give theoretical information, and you can analyze it and all these other things to try and understand it. But there's some things that we are just not meant to understand. And unless you're truly, and I don't understand a lot of it. I still don't understand a lot of it, that how I could have done that to myself first, and how I could have done that to the people that were close to me, and shutting them out and isolating myself. And, you know, so there's a fine line between nobody's coming to save you, and there are people that can help you save yourself. So that's where that line goes in. It's like the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So you can sit a person down and you can give them a whole table full of work plans, resources, information that is supposed to help fix them. Okay. But none of that is any good if the person themselves doesn't want to save themselves. And so that's where nobody's coming to save you, because if you don't do the work, there's nothing anybody on this planet can do. Nothing from any standpoint.
Absolutely. So who do you think Jessie was some years back? Who do you think Jessie is today? Is it the same person, different person? And who do you think Jessie will be sometime later?
Well, you know, as I said earlier, tomorrow I'm not going to be the same person I am today. I mean, when you're talking about me, who I was before, it's a lot of times when I am thinking about anything of parts of my life, or all the parts, it's almost like I'm watching a movie. It's like, how did I survive that? Like, how did I get through that? And then I remember. And so the person that I was then was a person that was just getting through every day, whatever way that was, whether it was sticking another needle in my arm, whether it was saturating myself with any drug I could, whatever it was that I needed to do that day to survive, that's who I was. And today, who I am, I'm somebody that looks back at that now, so that I can use that for the greater purpose, so that I can use that to start healing in people that desperately need it. Who I am today is someone that truly feels the pain of the people out there that are suffering immensely, and they have no access to a lot of things. I mean, we live in a world where they're just throwing things down your throat and providing things to addicts that they can't understand. They're not in a place where they can actually absorb the information enough. And so it's kind of like, oh, next, that one didn't work. Oh, next, that one didn't work. You know, so it's a very complicated place, because there are so many different ways and avenues, because you and I could be in the same journey of addiction right now, okay? And I may be doing something and you're looking at me going, "Oh wow, that's great. You're doing it." And you may try the same thing and like, yeah, no, not working for me, or vice versa, right? So each one of us learns things on a different level, even if we're the same personalities, have the same kind of, we could be brother and sister. And you could be a Model A student, never touch drugs in your life. And I could be this lost soul running around in heavy in addiction. So there are that's why I say it's complicated, because there's no two souls that are alike. And so each one of us absorbs information differently, sees our experiences differently, processes trauma differently. And so with that, the healing is going to come differently. But I think when you have a workbook that provides the space for people to create their own healing path, but with the tools to be able to do that no matter what walk of life or where they came from.
Absolutely, absolutely, Jesse. Society, when you talk about, all these things, the way society operates, society generally, cares about you, but mostly cares about the initial part, the rock bottom part, or the end part, either the success part, but not the messy middle part that you talk about. Because it's not, it's full of hard work, full of, all the sweat and blood. Rock bottom is much more, it gives them a good headline, and the end makes them feel good.
Right.
Why do you think society thinks like that? Whereas the messy middle is something which the person is all about that person. But that is not the society. How do you want society to look at the messy middle? And how do you then want those same person, when they achieve, to still think about society? How does it work? It's a bit of an unbalanced game altogether, Jesse. Still, you would want to think about the society, leave your impact. What motivates people in that?
Well, I think that's exactly, you hit the nail on the head. They've got the headlines for, she found the basement to rock bottom, and then like you said, at the end, another success story, right? So they go from here to here, like 0 to 60, without the filling of the pie. Okay. You've got the pie crust, you've got the topping, but the filling stuff where it's all messy and it's just chaotic, that's the stuff that will either make or break you. Okay. And it is the messy, the ugly, and the real shitty experiences in the healing and the real work that you got to do to maintain that, because my success story hasn't ended yet. Yes, I'm over 17 years clean, but I'm not the end of my line yet. And as long as I'm breathing, just like you and me are no different. Every single day, things come up in life. Things come up where you're, faced with something. Maybe there was a death in the family. Maybe you got into a car accident. Maybe could be a million things. Maybe you lost your job, but it's teaching people that through that messy, through that ugly, giving them the tools that when these things happen, that they have a way to deal with that and not create triggers. Because when you come from a life of trauma and trust issues and addiction and all those things, sometimes it doesn't take a lot to trigger you, So you have to give people tools to survive. You can't send somebody into a forest with a knife and a fork and expect them to be able to battle the wildlife or deal with the terrain or whatever and survive. If you just throw somebody in the forest with a knife and a fork, chances are they're not going to make it out the other side. So unless you arm people with the tools that they need to continue on their journey, it's going to be really hard for them to continue to survive, because all that stuff in the middle, going back to certain places, because when you're healing, what happens, everybody's got a different level of healing that they have to do to get through that part that's bringing out the ugly, the part that's creating the addiction, right? So when you start going in and you start looking at the source of the issue, when did it start? Go back to, for me, I go back and I say the number 3-4 years old because that's my earliest recollection. Okay. I had to go back to that time and I had to completely heal that part of me and give that part of me what I was missing. For me to overcome that trauma, that devastation, that safety net, there was a lot of work I had to do just to overcome that part of it. I didn't get here today over 17 years of sobriety because I just did 1 or 2 things. And for me, it's a daily thing. I get up at 5 o'clock, sometimes earlier in the morning, and I have a ritual that I do every single day, because if I don't do it, I feel like I've missed something already in my day, and it sets the tone of my day. And there's a lot of people walking around alive right now because I do a lot of meditation. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? You have to find what works for you. Maybe you don't like meditation, or maybe you don't know how to meditate. People have this false conception of meditation, right? And so maybe something else works for you. Maybe you want to sit in prayer. Maybe you want to read something. Maybe, all these different things. You have to find what motivates you. You have to find what works for you. You have to find your niche. The one thing that in the morning when you wake up, that's what you're going to do. And yeah, we all miss days here and there, but you're going to feel it. I know I feel it. But there's a constant and a consistency to maintaining your sobriety. And number 1 is you have to do the work, and it doesn't stop after a year. I've seen time and time again where people, they celebrate their 1 year clean anniversary, and then they go whoop it up. And all of a sudden, you hear 2 months later, they're back in addiction, because you think you've gotten to the finish line, but the finish line is never there. Until you take your last breath, it's a lifelong process, and you can never get too cocky and say, oh, I've got this. Even with myself, like I'm, about 99.99% sure that I never, ever want to go through that again in my life. But you know what? I don't get cocky about it. I still do my work because I don't want to take the chance of screwing that up again.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Jessie. What do you think is your superpower? Or has it changed over time?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I have any superpowers.
If I read it out, PTSD, Canada Rising Veterans and First Responders, earning a commendation medal from the Minister of Veteran Affairs, musician, co-author of a best-selling book, and then phase real estate and property management in Mexico, all those things. And then we'll come to that Rising Above Hell, your your debut memoir. We'll come to that. Needs a lot of superpower. That's why I asked this question for the audience to understand about their superpowers. Was it all along only one thing, or has it acquired superpowers along the way in your journey?
I really truly believe that my superpower is love. As cliche as that sounds, I, and I've been told before that I have the ability to love people that don't deserve to be loved. But, even the people that have done horrible things to me, I have found a place in my heart to forgive them. And obviously that forgiveness isn't for them, it's for me. But even with that, if these same people came to me and asked me for help, I would help them. There was a point in my life when I was so angry. I mean, I was just a walking bomb constantly. I was so angry at the world. And, there was a time when I wanted to throat punch them and, I wished they were dead. And, and then when I would hear myself say those things, even in my anger, even in my darkest addiction and darkest hell that I was living in, I would say those things and I would feel so bad. Like there's something wrong with these people. They need help, and yeah, I think my superpower would be love, because I have the ability to love people that sometimes I question myself on how I'm able to do that, but that doesn't come from me. And I believe that that's something working through me divinely that I don't have control of to a certain degree. And I think it's because I know pain so deeply and profoundly. So I get it. And I think that everybody deserves to be loved, no matter who they are. And, sometimes it's easier to say that than do that. But I mean, yeah, I try to be the love to people that I didn't get. So I try to show people that, because I don't ever want somebody to feel that not one person in this world loves them. So when I have people that come to me that are devastated and broken, I try to show them an unconditional love. Like, I'm not just loving you when you're the way I want you to be or the way I expect you to be. I love you when you're a shitty person. I love you when you're screwing up your life. And so I think that would probably be my superpower.
Absolutely. No bigger, greater superpower than love. So, what is it that you seek for yourself now, Jessie?
I don't need a lot. I think for myself, what I want is contentment, and to know that all of it wasn't for nothing. That's all I want. And it doesn't take a lot to make me happy. I'm pretty content with my life and my environment. And if I could have anything else added to my life, it would just be knowing that my voice has resonated for those that don't have a voice, and that they find hope in any of the words that I speak at any point.
Let's learn from your book, Rising Above Hell. What have you got in this book? Who is this book for?
for you, for me, for the mother out there. It's for the father out there, for the uncle, the son, the brother, the child. It's for everyone out there who has been, knows somebody who has been, or is just needing a reference point to knowing and feeling a glimmer of hope. That's who the book is for. It's for everybody out there. It is an adult reading book because of the graphic content of it, and it is pretty intense. I've got a lot of trigger warnings in my book to make sure that people, when they're reading it, that they stay safe. And but my book is for anybody out there who has ever suffered on any level, who's dealing with addiction, or who wants to help somebody who is.
In a nutshell, what would you like to tell the people that you want to reach out through this particular episode that you have already talked about? Anything new that didn't get covered in my questions to you?
Yeah, I would want them to know that they matter. They are seen. I hear them. I see them. And don't give up. Just keep going. And it doesn't matter how many times you quit. It doesn't matter if you've given up all hope and just say, you know what, I've quit 1,000 times or 5,000 times and I just can't do it. Yes, you can, because you got back up again. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. Just get back up one more time, because that might be the time that you succeed. So never give up.
Absolutely. Never give up. There is so much to learn about all this from you, Jessie, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more about you, learn more from you, learn more from your book, and much more. What's the best way for them to do so?
They can reach out to me on my website at jessie-williams.com, or they can reach me on all social media platforms at Jessie Tylre, Jessie. Tylre is Tylre. And I'm on pretty much every platform out there, and I would love to hear from you. And I'm very accessible. So if I can, I will. And so just keep going. And I hope you all reach out to me.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.